We're on.
Okay. Hi, folks. It's July 5th, 2016, and we're here after the Grandel-Geauga Park Board meeting, the first one since Independence Day, when the park is declared, sit down and shut up. We're not interested in what you say, and we're not interested in what you have paid. We're in charge. And we have some speakers here today. First of us is going to be Mr. Ed Buckles, who's going to talk to us about his public comment issues. So, are you ready, Ed, or do we want to? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
We were just trying to sort out the logistics.
Move in a little tighter, Ed.
Move in a little tighter, Ed. Perfect. This was an interesting board meeting today. Pardon my laryngitis. The board approved a $17 million budget, among other things, within 16 minutes. There was no discussion of any of the details. Then they approved all the vouchers without any discussion. The closest thing to a discussion was whether or not they could scrap a Dell computer. Ms. DeTore continues to try to use this as a stepping stone to higher office. We should clear up with her that that will not happen if we have anything to do with it. If we're not allowed to speak, and the board is allowed to speak, by the way, so they can say whatever they want to us, but we can't say anything back to them after they spent 2 years ignoring everything we had to say and refusing to engage with us. But who is going to ask questions such as, is the property they're thinking about buying really close to Mr. Gertz's property? We understand that it is, and if that is the case, then he should be recusing himself from any discussions having to do with this, because the Environ report says that will improve his property values. We should congratulate Mr. Barker on pitching a perfect game for the judge, shutting up discussion, voting along with the judge's minion, Mr. Oros, and continuing not to be able to find his way around the balance sheet. Given all that, it was a very disappointing meeting. Transparency is the last thing that we're seeing. We have no idea what kinds of discussions go on behind the scenes. We're going to have to find a new way to start getting information. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ed. That was Ed Buckles. And next up for public comment is Kathy Hanratty.
So I'm really disappointed in today's meeting. I think it showed once again that this board does not truly understand the purpose of a public board and the duties of a public board. One of their duties is transparency. They are responsible to the public, and they cannot be responsible to the public if you don't listen to the public. They do not answer our letters. They do not allow us to speak in meetings. They've now codified that. This is untenable.
Thank you, Kathy Hanratty. I'm sorry, Kathy Hanratty. Next up for the public comment is Barbara Partington.
You'll have to lower the camera angle.
It's okay, as long as you can hear my voice. If I was able to make a public comment today, I would have talked about two things. One is I have received for quite a few months the weekly status reports for the departments in the park. So we know what the executive director is working on, what the naturalists are working on, finance department, etc. Those are no longer part of the board packet, so I have those separately. And it was very interesting that for the first time this month, there is no executive director report in the past two weekly status reports. The other thing I would have liked to say is that a survey that was done in the past 2 weeks of county park districts in the state of Ohio is that 52 county park districts out of 52 all have public comment as part of their meetings or upon request. 0 county parks in the state of Ohio do not allow public comment, and 5 we were unable to reach due to the holiday and vacation time. And we'll report that back. So 52 out of 52 county parks surveyed in the state of Ohio do have public comment, always as part of their board meeting or on request. And again, there are 5 more that we're waiting to hear back from. But all of the responses were, of course we have public comment. That's what we're here for. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Barbara. Upcoming in just a few seconds is going to be strolling past us, our park board people. Would you like to talk to us?
I am off to a business meeting.
Oh,
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry we can't. How about it, Mr. Barker? Would you like to spend some time talking to the public?
Nope.
How about you, Mr. Gertz? Would you like to talk to the
What do
public?
you want to know?
I want to know whatever you got to say. Step right over here so we can hear
All
you
I
real
can
well.
tell you, it was very nice today because we didn't have any loyal opposition.
Well,
They were
that's
silenced.
You think it's over? You think
Well,
it's appropriate?
if you face it, if you were in my shoes and you came to a meeting every day or once a month, and all you had was harassment, hearsay, surmises, and nothing positive.
We've actually said positive things about what's going on in the parks, but the point of the matter is that you're a public official responsible to the public, and you won't listen to the public.
I think if you submit a letter
We have submitted letters and
and
they
if
do not
you
get response.
have a good subject you want to talk about, we'll just talk.
Who determines what's a good subject?
Well, look what you've been talking about.
We've been talking about violations of the
You're
law.
mad at the judge.
We've been
You
talking.
didn't have anybody to run against him, so now you're all bent out of shape.
No, that's not true. Actually, for more than a year, we have consistently been asking the board to come up
Come on in, Kathy.
to
So that you're
use some
inside.
common sense standards in all of your decision making. And we've given this
Whose
to you
opinion
by
is it the
number.
common sense?
These are common sense standards. These are standards that John Orals told me that they used to use but don't anymore. Is the use compatible with the mission statement? Is the use fiscally responsible when all of the costs are associated? Is the use necessary, not a duplication of services? And has the decision-making process been transparent? So far,
That's strictly a John Orris thing, that's not a board thing.
that is actually, common sense standards should be used in all of the board
Well, we
making
tried to,
decisions
I
about-
mean, it's the one single thing that you don't see today is common sense.
Well, here, these
And
are
that
really
board-
good common sense
That board,
standards.
believe me, is as good as you've had in a long time. Barker and Mrs. DeTore are good people. They have only one thing in common, that they love the parks and they don't want to do anything to deter that.
Why won't they be transparent in their decisions? Why won't you be transparent in your decisions? That's against the democratic way.
Well, I voted today because I wasn't going to vote for it. I want that agenda to stay put. Well, it is still there, even though it was crossed out. I don't believe in non-representation, and especially the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm a stalwart on that. But I had my daughter up this past weekend from Atlanta. We went to the Westwoods, we went to the Elfelder House, we went to the Headwaters, and she says, Dad, I've never seen a better run park than this, or the facility. The people were great. And I said, that's what irks me, because we go to the meetings and all they're doing is complaining.
Well, we can agree on that. The staff is amazing. The parks are beautiful and absolutely amazing. But you are trading on the history of past boards. For 50 years, we had boards who created these wonderful parks, who bought
I
property
understand.
to protect, who put things up in a way using these for common sense
Don Myers
standards.
was a personal friend of mine.
Absolutely.
His daughter was one of our clerks, you know.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think, and I'm talking off the top of my head now, I think there's a way that possibly later on we'll open it up in a limited way to the public.
Mr. Gertz, are you aware that this is we did some research in the past couple weeks, the only county park in the state of Ohio that does not at this time allow public comment?
And that's basically because of you guys.
Because we make
That,
comments.
you're allowed,
yeah, but-
you know, in this country, you're allowed to make comments that are sometimes not popular. Also, many people came to these meetings to congratulate the parks on things.
Just tell
So,
me when that happens, will you? I'll be glad to.
oh, well, if you would like me to go through the minutes and tell you all the times people made positive comments, I'll have that for you next time. I'm happy to.
I made a positive comment about the maps. I said the maps were really great. That was the last.
You put a star by that one, that's the only one.
Mr. Cruz, I can speak for myself, and in January, when you were considering allowing snowmobiling at Observatory Park, I did my own research. I did it.
Who voted against it?
But it passed. Was there discussion about it? Did you advocate for your position? I found out, while you were talking about presentations to the board from the public, I had information that I shared from research. I found out that there are 100 miles of trails already available
I understand that.
to
I'm
snowmobilers.
100%
so-
against snowmobiles.
Okay, good. But that was information that I brought to the board that you didn't know apparently, that the other board members didn't know. So you're saying that it's always something
They knew.
negative.
They knew.
It's not always something negative.
They knew.
So
John
they-
Augustine has brought information to you about Observatory Park and the state of the telescopes. It's constructive and it should be helpful to you. And it's in my opinion, cowardly not to want to face someone who might have a difference of opinion and be able to
I
stand your
understand what
ground.
you're saying. You know, I'm an
Okay.
American.
And in terms of negatives, it is us who brought to the floor the fact that there were EPA violations that had to be corrected, that there were violations of the hunting.
EPA hasn't cited us at all.
You ought to look at what happened at Bass Lake.
I did.
And the hunting and trapping violations of state law. We brought those to your
Hunting and
attention.
trapping violations, there weren't any because ODNR handled it. We turned that over. ODNR
I think-
runs that. Now, how many of you were in the service? Any of you gentlemen?
Well, we're talking about the parks, we're not
I
talking
know
about
it.
the
I'm
military.
talking about basically how I think. And that's pretty much how it goes. But I can't talk for the board myself, but I would think that there's going to be a way to bring this back into it.
Well, one of my questions though is, when are these things being discussed? Because in a 16-minute meeting, how could so much have been discussed?
Well, without violation of the Sunshine Law, we discussed this individually with John Orris.
That's a violation of the Sunshine Law. You can't all three talk about it, even if you're separate. You can't do it,
I
Mr.
didn't
Gerst.
say that.
Okay.
I said I met with him privately. I can do that.
You can meet with him
And
privately.
that's every
So each
every
one of you
meeting
meets
date
with
I
him
come here
privately.
at 9 o'clock.
But if each of you
I
meets
spent a half
privately,
an
it's a
hour
problem.
with Mr. Orris and offered some of the things that are on my mind and whether or not we can correct them. And that's where it is.
Clinton County just weighed in that they also have public comment, so now we're up to 53 out of 53.
Couldn't care less.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that you're not interested in knowing about other counties in Ohio. We're all part of the same state, and it's a
Ma'am,
good
I
one.
was a trustee for 26 years. And before that, I was on the zoning commission. I sat 15 years on the Geauga County Planning Commission. I'm well aware of what goes on.
Right.
And I think you're going to be well pleased because there's going to be a nice piece of property that we're going to be acquiring.
Is that property adjacent to your land?
Yeah, I withdrew from any kind of comment.
Okay, are you gonna vote on that then? Are you gonna
It's already
recuse
voted.
yourself? You voted, are you gonna vote you voted to purchase? And you voted to purchase?
I can't say that I abstained.
Okay, but you didn't recuse yourself from the discussions then? You were
Yeah,
involved
I
in the
did.
discussions?
No, I wasn't.
And that property is directly adjacent to your property?
But what are you getting at?
I'm trying to discover what role you
It's a
had.
beautiful piece of property.
I didn't say that, I have no
We,
idea.
we
But you-
looked
did
at
you-
it. The headwaters of the Cuyahoga start on it,
Uh-huh,
literally, so the Corps of Engineers is involved with that part of it. It's a nice piece of property, it was available, and the price was right. So, and it's gonna be a gorgeous piece of,
Well, what vote was taken in executive session?
what
What vote was
I
taken?
can't discuss executive session, you know
Was there a
that.
vote in executive session?
Was there a
you
vote?
said they came back out and you
I'm
said there
not
was
saying
no vote.
anything.
Okay. Okay, but it is exactly adjacent to your property, and you didn't recuse yourself on the voting.
I didn't vote,
You didn't recuse yourself on the discussion, I'm sorry.
either one of them.
Okay, you went to executive session, but you didn't participate in
I said I
executive
have to abstain on this because of the fact that it's adjacent to my property. Which
said that?
doesn't mean a thing, because there's no way in God's green earth that we'd ever do anything with it, but keep it in the family.
But, okay, I'd like to go back, because I understand that you would not do anything this time. But I want to understand about if each of you just makes a discussion with John Orris and makes your decision based on those discussions, how is that?
It's
you have some
clarification clarification more than anything.
But you've completely left, how does the public know that there was any deliberation at all?
Well, some of it's private.
But,
You know, some of it's things that really you shouldn't know.
but we are the public and we pay for the parks. Why should we not know these things?
You'll have to talk to him. I'm only one of the members, and I probably won't be there after December. Well, how are you gonna reappoint me at my age, even though I'm probably as active a director as they've had in a long
I
time?
think so, yeah, absolutely.
Well, at least you're answering questions, even though it's not in a meeting, you're talking to us here, which
We
is,
appreciate that.
I'll compliment you for that. You know?
Well, you know, I've always felt very strongly about that. Because, you know, you have questions that haven't been answered, and if I can give you any kind of an answer at all, I will.
Thank you.
Because,
Did you
being
know?
an old Marine, you know, we don't mess around with it. It's either white or black, there's no gray area.
We'd like for you to do that in the meeting.
I tried
What
to.
you're doing right now, we'd like for you to do in the meeting, because that makes the meeting open.
There should be a give and take at the meeting, and, I mean,
I don't disagree with that.
you know,
I didn't really agree with, well, I shouldn't say that. I did agree with the elimination of your part now. If we can clean that up and we can make it so that it's not so much of a hate thing, or a bully pulpit, as I call it, and
But
that's
we-
what it was.
We have confined ourselves to the time allotted. And,
Not everybody.
that's true.
You might, Catherine, but
But,
I'm not gonna spit on anybody, but I can tell you, he's fairly close. He never owned a watch.
well, that's, I mean, people tend to get long-winded, but that's not,
Well, a lot of it
that's
too,
not the point.
a lot of it too is things that happened during the Tom Curtin's tenure.
We don't have
And I'll
any.
be honest
we
with you,
don't have any-
this is personal, but I don't think he did any favor to this park.
Oh, my.
John Orris is by far he's got the right ideas. He knows what he wants to do, what he wants how to handle it. And as you said, the people are great. The people are absolutely great.
we'd-
The
we'd be-
budget is great, let me tell you, I go over that with a fine tooth comb.
Mr. Gertz, you said, John, you know, there's an endangered species on the Grandview property when it was up for auction. They didn't even have anyone to go there to bid. And that was John Oros's doing. Do you think that was great, not to even?
I didn't want that property because we didn't want to be in the golf course business, we didn't want to be in the restaurant business. If we would have had to leased it out, and then that means you're a tenant owner type thing, that doesn't work.
You don't have to keep it as a.
Well, we know
I
you,
think we've held you up enough. We
Yeah.
appreciate your time. We appreciate your
You haven't
candor.
held me up, I'm retired, remember?
Well, we appreciate your
Not
time.
retired.
We would be interested in what John's vision for the park is. We keep looking to have somebody talk to us about what 5 years and 10 years down the line they want the park to look like.
Well,
But we can do that at
it's
another
just like
time.
the Hyde Kaplan property, which is between Taylor Wells and Chardon Windsor. It's right along the bike trail. We had that in 1995, 96. So we've been sitting on that, and now they finally have a plan, and it's gonna be gorgeous. There's a 5-acre lake there. You're gonna be well pleased. But as you get your monies in, you have to prioritize, you know, and the board normally has an input in that.
But that's why we like a 10-year plan to see how you're prioritizing that.
I don't know, you can almost go 10, because it's just like today with the talking about the Longo property. That wasn't on the scene here 6 months ago until the family decided to get rid of it. And I didn't want to see a development back there when it was ideal. In fact, Paul Pira, who was our land guy, he said, Mr. Gersh, this is an instant park. This is gorgeous land. Don't let it slide. Plus, if the hunting area is ever abandoned by the state and you're sitting there as a public identity, you got first dibs in it. Another thing you don't realize is that whatever the state paid for that property, if they're going to sell it or whatever to another, they can't charge more than what they paid for it.
So we'd have an increasingly large hunting area, the land
Well, I
that they're
don't know
gonna
what
buy
they, I'm,
now.
don't
Land we're gonna
get
buy
too
now,
far ahead of
plus
this.
that possibility. So it'll be a giant hunting area in that area.
I'm not saying it would be a hunting area at all.
I see, okay.
But we can't hold you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You're not holding me up. I'm
Thanks for
holding you
talking
guys
to
up.
us.
Look
Okay.
at, the girls are slowly going towards the parking lot.
Well, we appreciate your comments, we appreciate your input. You're the only one that did stop and talk to us,
Yes.
so thank you very
Well,
much
you'll
for
miss
doing
me.
that.
You'll miss me.
We
And,
will
Oh.
definitely miss you.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay, July the 5th, 2016, that's our park board meeting and public comments for today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for stopping and talking to us. I
That's
really
all right.
appreciate it.
well, you know.